If you need a few creative ideas on how to reach out to others so they say yes to your beautiful children's book over on social media platforms, including my favorite ninja tips and the biggest do's and don'ts, this video is for you. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. This is the third part in my mini social media series for us authors. In the first part, I talked about 7 easy peasy ways to stand out on social media that we can implement right away. In the second part, we looked at how to make social media as easy as possible for us and how to identify the right people to reach out to over on social media regarding our children's book. And in this third part right here, we are looking at how to successfully and effectively approach others over on social media. So let's jump right in. I've already mentioned in a previous part of this series that social media can be used in 2 main ways by us authors. 1, we can use social media the way most other authors use it, by posting and sharing about our beautiful book. And 2, the less common way to use social media, and that most authors may forget about or do so in less ideal ways, is to use it as a means to reach out to those who either might be interested in our book or who would be able to share our book with their audience or their following. In the previous part of the social media for authors mini-series here, I shared a few ideas on how to come up with the ideal audience to reach out to about our children's book. So I'll make sure to add the link to that video in the description below, because identifying the right people is really important, because the more our book's topic aligns with that person we are trying to reach out to, the better our chances of them saying yes to our request to share our book or to talk about our book. So if you haven't watched that part yet, make sure you do so. This video right here goes hand in hand with the previous video in that it is meant to show you how to reach out. So in the last video it was about whom to reach out to, and in this video we will look at how to reach out to others about our children's book on social media. Now it's really important to distinguish between 2 types of people or groups to reach out to. 1, reaching out to people or groups or influencers that would require to be paid in order to share our book. And 2, reaching out to people or groups or influencers that don't require such payments. The first type is usually made up of bigger accounts or bigger influencers who often share or talk about products in exchange for a fee. The second type is often made up of much smaller accounts or influencers and often don't ask for a fee to share about our book. This video is meant to support your outreach to that second group of people, so please keep that in mind. Because what that essentially means is that we will want to be aware that there is a difference, and those bigger accounts or influencers who often promote products on their social media channels won't be promoting our book for free. So the methods I'm sharing with you here are not going to be effective. So make sure to stick to the audience you have identified with the help of the previous part of this mini-series. Again, I will make sure to add the link to it below. Now, there are many different ways we can reach out to someone we have identified as someone to approach about our children's book on social media. And the 2 ways to reach out and try to connect with someone that I would like to focus on here are direct messaging and tagging. So let's look at direct messaging first. A quick messaging side note I wanted to mention here is that something many people often forget about or just don't know is that unless social media accounts follow each other, a direct message may not end up in the recipient's regular inbox. Instead, it may land in a different folder. Facebook, for example, separates our inbox into regular messenger inbox, the you may know folder, and the spam folder. And Instagram separates our inbox into primary, general, and requests folders. And the reason I'm mentioning this here is so that you know that we may have to be extra patient when we're sending our messages, because that person may not check these separate folders regularly. When we have identified a specific person to reach out to, we would essentially draft our personalized message. And I say personalized because just like a cover letter of a job application, we will want to make sure it's specifically written toward that person. More often than not, outreach messages are a bit clumsy and not as effective as they could or should be. And so to show you what I mean, I wanted to share a couple messages that I have received both as a fellow author as well as someone who helps aspiring authors. So these are messages I often receive as a fellow author. Please note here that I don't know these people, so this is their very first message to me. Feel free to stop the video to read them all, but here is what one of them says. Hi Eevi, I just published my first children's book and really wanted to be successful. Can I send you a copy of my new book in exchange for a review? It's perfect for 2 to 12-year-olds. Your sons will love it. Now, this message would be okay if it were sent from one friend to another, right? If we've known each other for a while and I'd sent you this kind of message, that would be totally fine. But remember, I don't know this person. There was no previous conversation. Maybe they know me from my how-to book or from my videos, but I wouldn't know that because it's not mentioned here. So if a stranger were to approach you like that, how would you respond? I understand that this person wants to be successful, but who are they? Another message here reads, Hi Eevi, my new children's book is out. Please share it with your following. Thank you, plus the link. Again, hello? It's so nice to meet you, but how do I know you? These are the types of messages that make me laugh sometimes. I get similar messages as someone who helps aspiring children's authors as well, like these right here. Again, I don't know these people and have never been approached by them prior to these messages. Feel free to pause the video to read them all. Now, looking at these or the previous examples, what do they all seem to have in common and what do you think is missing? These messages would have been a lot more effective if 1, I had some sort of previous interaction with the senders, and 2, if these messages were a bit more balanced. Before sending a message to someone to ask essentially for a favor, connecting with that person beforehand would be so beneficial. So my first ninja tip is this. Don't wait with the identifying of these people until your book is done. Instead, identify them now, way in advance, and start following and interacting with them now. For example, even before reaching out, follow that person's work in their social media accounts. Start interacting with them not by messaging them, but by leaving thoughtful comments on their posts. Not just a string of emojis, but comments that show that we have read their posts or simply like their posts. Over time, this really makes such a big difference and will get noticed, I promise. If someone consistently shows up by liking my posts, I notice, and when those authors eventually reach out to me via a message, it will no longer be a cold or unexpected outreach because I have seen them interact with my content before, and I may already recognize their name and may recognize their profile picture as well. Now here it's important to notice that the more known this person is whose attention we are trying to get, the more interaction in the form of liking and commenting it will take. So just keep that in mind. And that's because if someone has a large following, it's simply harder to break through all that noise. Another way to ensure our message is more effective is by making sure our message is a bit more balanced. Now, what do I mean by that? My second ninja tip is this. When reaching out to others about our book, ideally our first outreach message shouldn't just be about us or our book. Instead, we can simply reach out to let people know how we've learned about them or how they have impacted us, because starting a relationship that way will make the person we are approaching a lot more invested and interested in us. This right here is such a wonderful example of this. Hello Eevi, my name is. I just want to thank you for helping me publish my first children's book. I bought your book, How to Self-Publish a Children's Book, several months ago, and it was so useful. I was not on social media before and am now here on Instagram, so keep up the good work. It is nice to know there is someone out there that is such a support of new children's book authors. That's such a beautiful and thoughtful first message. Earlier, I asked what the previous examples had in common and what they were missing. They all were missing this. Balance is important, so when reaching out to someone, we shouldn't just talk about ourselves and how them reading our book or them reviewing our book would help us. When drafting our outreach message with a request, we need to reframe our request by answering this question right here. How is our children's book relevant to that person or group or organization we are reaching out to? How would it benefit them? If we are approaching a Facebook group administrator, for example, how would their sharing of our book in their group benefit them and their group members? Because in the end, that's what they care about. Our success as authors is less relevant to them. What matters to them is how our book will, for example, address the issue their group members are rallying around. So, for example, if our children's book is about adopting a new puppy and we have identified a Facebook group that is all about animal shelters, then we should make our message all about the group members' interests in animal adoption and animal shelters and not just about our book. What is the underlying reason these people have joined this Facebook group? Probably because they care about animals, right? They may have even adopted a pet themselves from an animal shelter. So how could we tie that to our book? Because that's what would make them interested in our book, not that you as the author think it's great or because it is free today. None of this will matter. So after having spent some time in that Facebook group in order to identify why people joined this group, perhaps the main part of our outreach message could entail something like this. Many members in this group have adopted or are planning to adopt a pet from animal shelters. Deciding to adopt is an important decision. So when children wish to adopt a pet, we as adults want to make sure our little ones know what to expect and how to prepare and what responsibilities it brings with it. I wrote my book and then the book title so children can see what adopting a pet is all about, what changes it may bring with it, and what steps to take in order to give the new pet the best home possible. So again, we will want to make sure to show how our children's book would be relevant to the person we are reaching out to. Something that goes beyond just stating that our book is great and that they will love it and that it is free. So when reaching out via a message, do this. 1. Start following those people before emailing them. Then regularly interact with their posts by liking them or adding thoughtful comments. If you do so regularly, they will notice. So if they're on Instagram, like their stories or their regular posts. If they are on YouTube, like and comment on their videos. Wherever they are more active, that's where this will have the most impact. 2, once you do reach out, make sure the content of your message is balanced. It shouldn't just be about us and our book. And letting people know how you learned about them or how they have impacted or helped you would be a great way to do just that. And 3, consider not making a review ask part of your first outreach message and instead just keep it light and obligation free. Things we should avoid when reaching out via a message are these right here. 1, this one makes me laugh because I just told you that in order to get someone's attention, to follow that person's work and to leave comments and likes on their posts, right? Well, there is a right and a wrong way of doing so. Something that happens a lot is that people come to my account and like and comment on 10 of my posts all at once. And that's usually not a good idea, especially if you do that back to back, because what ends up happening is that this person will get 10 notifications about one and the same person all at once. And while that does get someone's attention, it always looks a bit sketchy. Instead, show your persistence over time and simply come back to that person's account on a regular basis. 2, remember your messaging etiquette. Don't spam. While we want to be persistent, we don't want to spam someone. And we don't want to get upset if the person we are reaching out to doesn't respond. Instead, we want to be patient before resending a request. And just like I shared in the previous video of this series, we want to be willing to put our lab coat on and experiment to see what we can rework and tweak to figure out what works best for us and our book. Okay, this was about our outreach via messaging. Let's look at connecting via tagging next. A tag is a special kind of link, and tagging someone on social media means that we are creating a link to their profile. That way, the tagged person receives a notification that they have been tagged, and depending on the social media platform, the tagged photo or post may also show up on that tagged person's timeline. Just like with our messaging, we want to use common sense and follow proper etiquette when tagging someone. So here are some do's and don'ts. 1, We only want to tag someone if there's a reason to tag them. So if they had an active role in the creation of our book, then it would be okay to tag them. For example, if they have inspired us or have helped us during the creation of our children's book. When we tag someone, we'll want to make sure to explain how the tagged person impacted us or has helped us. Tagging others is meant to highlight and celebrate them just as much as it is meant to highlight and celebrate ourselves and our beautiful new book. So we will want to make sure we give that tagged person a reason to share our post or leave a comment on our post. We always want to ask ourselves, how can this be a win-win for everyone involved? So we will want to make each of these shares with tags a balanced share. 2, don't mass tag. What we don't want to do is tag or add a bunch of different names simply because we want those tagged people's attention and because we want them to share our post. Because most mass tagged people won't share our work. In fact, whenever I am mass tagged, I simply remove my tag and won't share the post. Again, we will always want to ask ourselves, how can this be a win-win for everyone involved? Now, when using social media for our beautiful children's book, here's another one of my ninja tips. When it comes to sharing our own book, we need to go where our audience is or to the platform we feel most comfortable with or where we may already have a following. However, when it comes to getting someone's attention, we need to go where that person is most active. For example, if you are most active on Facebook and prefer Facebook, then that's where you would want to hang out. But if the person you have identified as someone you would like to reach out to mostly does their sharing on Instagram, then that's where you would want to connect with them and reach out to them. Otherwise, they may never see your message or tags. For example, when I was preparing for this video, I went onto social media platforms I usually don't use, Twitter being one of them. And I found a whole bunch of beautiful tags and shoutouts that I sadly missed because I'm just not active on that particular platform. Now, when it comes to getting someone's attention, playing the long game is always best. I already shared that following that identified person's social media account, liking their posts, and perhaps even sharing thoughtful comments on their posts will put you on those people's radar. And the longer and more regularly we do this, the more effective this will be. And we can get as creative with these types of interactions as we want. There really are so many wonderful creative ways to get onto someone's radar, so I wanted to share just a few. 1, if the person you are trying to connect with is also an author, they will value a review just like any other author. Amazon lets us add video reviews and allows us to add pictures to our reviews. That's always a great way to stand out. We all check our reviews, so you can be sure that they will notice such a wonderful giving gesture. 2, if you have taken one of their courses or have purchased one of their products or you just love whatever they are sharing online, you can leave a review for those things as well. Oftentimes we can leave a testimonial, either an official one that is requested on those people's websites or just a simple video you are making and then are sharing on your social media profile. Here we'll want to make sure to tag that person so they'll get notified. 3, do they have a podcast? If so, know that podcast reviews are incredibly hard to get. So again, we can set ourselves apart by leaving a glowing podcast review over on iTunes for them. 4, do they have a blog? If so, we can leave a thoughtful comment each time a new blog post is being posted. 5, do they have a YouTube channel? Then again, like and comment on their newest videos. 6, do they have a Patreon account or a Buy Me a Coffee account? Then perhaps buy them a coffee. Taking these extra steps is what will set us apart from all the other online noise. And of course, all of these things I've just listed are shareable. So share their book, share their course or product, share their podcast or their blog post. And then of course, tag them on those shares. Before making your ask, try to be there for this person first. Show up for them first. Why? Because so few actually take the time to go that extra mile. And again, that's how we cut through that noise. Like I said in my previous video in this mini series, it's a give and take. And that isn't to say that these things are a tit for tat scenario, but it makes people feel a whole lot better and more valued if our approach is a balanced one. Nearly every day I receive a private message asking me to share about someone's work. And while I am so unbelievably happy for each of these newly published authors, 9 times out of 10 I don't respond. And that's because I never heard of these people before. Whenever I do say yes, it's because I recognize that person's name. I remember them and I know I have played an active role in their journey of becoming a children's author. So whenever reaching out to someone about our children's book, try to look for that win-win scenario for everyone involved. That's how we will get others to say yes to our book on social media. I am planning one more part in this social media series for us authors, so keep your eyes peeled. And if you're looking for more on successful outreach, I added a link to my influencer outreach program in the description below, which is also part of my Children's Book University. I hope you found this video really helpful and that it sparked a few new ideas on how to creatively, respectfully, and thoughtfully reach out to others. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to reaching out with a win-win mindset. Bye!